Welcome back. Round 7 of Norway Chess 2026 brought another important day in the Open tournament. The leader was tested, the chasing group had a chance to close the gap, and every match carried weight with only a few rounds left in Oslo. We start with the most important game for the standings. Gukesh Domaraju against Wesley So. Wesley came into the round as the leader, and even a classical loss would not have taken him out of first place. But this game showed how narrow the margins can be at Norway Chess. Wesley So chose a sharp pawn sacrifice early in the opening. After bishop to h5, black allowed white to take on e5. The idea was similar in spirit to the Marshall attack. Give up a pawn, open lines, and create active play. But the compensation was not easy to prove. Gukesh answered very strongly with rook to d5. This was the moment when the game became very concrete. White was not only a pawn up, white also had active pieces, and black's structure had already started to suffer. One of the key moves of the game was king to f1. This was a very unusual and very strong move. Gukesh used the king as an active piece in the middle game. The move helped white break the pin on the e-file and keep control over the dangerous black threats. But then came the critical slip. Gukesh played knight to d5, and later identified this as the key mistake. The winning move was queen to h4, keeping pressure and threatening to take on e5. After knight to d5, Wesley suddenly had a chance to fight back. Wesley found the exchange sacrifice with rook takes f5. This was his way out. Black gave material back, but opened lines and created practical problems around the white king. From that moment, the game was no longer a clean technical win for white. It became messy, tactical, and difficult to judge. After rook to f5, the position was still complicated, but it was no longer winning for white. Wesley offered a draw, and Gukesh accepted immediately. It was a huge escape for the leader. Gukesh had been close to a classical win, but Wesley survived. The match then went to Armageddon. Gukesh had white and needed to win, while Wesley had black and only needed a draw. Gukesh grabbed a pawn with queen takes a5. Objectively, this was dangerous, because the queen moved far away from the rest of the board. But in Armageddon, white cannot be too careful. The critical moment came after queen to b5. Wesley's king on f8 became a problem, because the c5 pawn could fall with check. If black had moved the king to g8 earlier, he could still have chased the queen. Instead, Gukesh took on c5 with check, won a second pawn, and his queen escaped. Gukesh then found a zigzag route for the queen. The queen moved back into safety, and white was simply 2 pawns up. Wesley no longer had enough compensation. Gukesh converted and won the Armageddon game, but Wesley's classical escape was the bigger tournament story. Next came Pragnanandar Rameshbabu against Alireza Firouzja. This was a major game near the top of the standings, with Firouzja trying to stay close to Wesley, and Pragnanandar looking to move into the chasing group. The game began quietly in an Italian opening. For many moves, nothing dramatic happened. Then Pragnanandar picked up a pawn with queen takes a5. Firouzja had some compensation, especially with the knight on d4, but he was also falling behind on the clock. The star move of the game was rook to a1. This was an exchange sacrifice, and it changed the whole character of the position. Pragnanandar gave material to open the way toward black's king. Firouzja already had only a couple of minutes to defend, and the attack became very hard to handle. After queen to e5, white's pieces were fully active. The black king was exposed, and Firouzja had to defend with little time. Pragnanandar kept control, increased the pressure, and did not allow black to escape. The game ended after queen to d8. Pragnanandar had rounded up the black king and scored a clean classical victory. It was his second classical win of the tournament, after his earlier win against Magnus Carlsen. The final open match was Vincent Keymer against Magnus Carlsen. The classical game was a fighting King's Indian battle, and for Carlsen, it was another chance to create complications and push for more than a draw. Carlsen chose a rare King's Indian setup with rook to e8 and then bishop to d7. Before making these moves, he spent a long time thinking very early in the game. Later he explained that he was trying to look at the position as if he had never seen it before. Keymer handled the opening well. After pawn to e4, white had a small pull and a comfortable setup. Carlsen admitted after the game that he was worse at the beginning, but he felt the position was still manageable. Keymer then played pawn to g4, a committal move on the king side. It showed ambition, but it also required accuracy. The position remained balanced, and both players continued to keep enough control. Carlsen later felt that he was getting some play. After bishop to h6, black had activity and pressure, but it never became a serious advantage. The game stayed very accurate from both sides, and neither player gave the other a clear chance. The queens eventually came off, and the game reached a drawn ending. Keymer and Carlsen split the classical point, which meant another Armageddon game. In Armageddon, Keymer had white and had to win. Carlsen had black, where a draw was enough. Carlsen chose the semi-Tarash, a solid and practical choice for this format. There was one critical moment. Carlsen played knight to e4, and Keymer had a chance to take a pawn with queen takes d5. That would have left Carlsen needing to defend a clean pawn-down position. But Keymer missed the chance. Instead, Keymer played knight takes e4. After that, the danger passed. Carlsen simplified, kept control, and never gave white another real chance. The game ended in a draw, which was enough for Carlsen to win the Armageddon. After round 7, Wesley leads with 12.5 points. Firouzja is second on 10. Then comes a tight group behind him. Carlsen, Keymer, and Pragg all have 9 points. Gukesh is on 8. The standings tell two stories at once. Wesley is still in control, but the group behind him is packed very closely. Firouzja is still the nearest challenger, while Carlsen, Keymer, and Pragg are all close enough to change the race with one strong classical win. Round 8 now brings Firouzja against Gukesh, Carlsen against Pragg and Wesley against Keymer. For Wesley, the game against Keymer is a chance to protect the lead. For Firouzja, the game against Gukesh is important after 2 straight classical losses. And Carlsen against Pragg is a key battle in the group on 9 points. With only 3 rounds left, every classical result can change the shape of the tournament.